Hello, Empowered Woman. Welcome to this episode of the Empowered Woman podcast. Today, I talked to Katie Lain, who is the co-founder of Thrive Alcohol Recovery. She helps women suffering in secret with destructive habits around drinking to lose alcohol cravings and develop an off switch when it comes to alcohol, meaning they can take it or leave it. This was such a good conversation about a topic that can either be considered taboo or easily dismissed. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on personal growth, visibility, and profit for women entrepreneurs. If you're wanting to start believing in yourself, giving yourself permission to succeed, and let your voice be heard to make an impact in the world as an entrepreneur, this is the place for you. I am so glad that you're here. My name is Marta Spurk, and I'm your host, triplet mom, woman empowerment coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode. Hi, Katie. Thank you so much for joining me today.
So happy to be here, Marta. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to hear from you and learn more about your story and all the amazing things that you're doing. But first things first, I always like to remember our listeners to be taking notes, whether it be written notes or mental notes, because you're going to hear some pretty amazing gold nuggets here. I'm sure you're going to have amazing takeaways because that's what happens with amazing conversations with amazing people. So I want to make sure you take those notes and share it with us. So you're going to get all the info on Katie as well. So you can be taking a screenshot of the episode, tagging me and Katie and saying, oh my gosh, this was amazing. Because, you know, it helps for us people that are here talking into the abyss. I mean, we're talking to each other, but especially in solo episodes, we're talking to nothing, right? It's just us and our thoughts. So it's nice to hear back. This is really all podcasters have. It's people's feedback. So please take some time to share with us, whether it be with a screenshot or maybe just a message, whatever you feel comfortable with, just so we get that feedback and we actually know what's resonating. Because then I can bring more guests that touch on similar topics or just talk about specific topics that are relevant for you. So thank you in advance. And once again, welcome, Katie. We've connected recently. I've loved hearing your story. You joined my group. You shared a little bit more about the work that you do. And I really love the focus that you have. So without further ado, I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. So my name is Katie Lain, and I created Thrive Alcohol Recovery. It's a program that helps people to develop moderate drinking habits using tools that actually prevent over drinking and reduce alcohol cravings. And I got into this work as someone who personally struggled with alcohol for nearly a decade. And what I love about coming on your podcast, Marta, is that something that I kept feeling and experiencing as I was changing my drinking habits using the method that I help with people is that I was becoming empowered over alcohol. A lot of people and a lot of women struggle in silence with over drinking. And it's like this gray area experience that a lot of people have where, you know, in my case, I was drinking a bottle of red wine every single night. And so I was still functioning, still doing well in life, but it was also functioning at like a low level and had so many aspirations that alcohol just felt like this major stumbling block. And so, you know, the options that were out there for me are things like AA or, you know, just quit drinking and just, you know, all those things I tried over and over again and nothing ever worked. And finally, I found this treatment, which I use myself and now coach others through. It's a way to really, like I said earlier, to really moderate your drinking habits. It doesn't require you to quit because it allows you to become empowered over alcohol. And so I'm so passionate about it because it really is a revolutionary way to drink less without any stigma, shame, labels, and having to, you know, completely quit cold turkey forever. Because most people I find they don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that is so powerful. And I love that you're using the word empowered because one of my definitions for it is saying, take back your power from the things you thought held you back. And that's really what it is. It's you understanding that you're in control, but depending on how far things go, you start getting the impression that something else or someone else has control over you, but you still have that choice. And it's easier said than done, right? For people that are outside of the situation, they just say, quit. It's as simple as that, but it takes the journey and it takes the transformation and the mindset. And I love that you're supporting women in that way. And I could just hear some women, I'm not, because being a mom, there's so many of the memes that say, you know, coffee in the morning, wine at night, or kids wine, I wine, and all of that. But I admittedly, wine has never been my thing. My husband drinks beer, is not my thing either. I think because I grew up with men in the family drinking beer around a lot, and I always did not enjoy the smell of it or the taste of it. But I do
good.
like cocktails and drinks. I feel like that's more up my speed. But still, I could hear women saying, whatever you say, Katie, don't tell me that I need to give up my glass of wine at night. And that's exactly what you're saying. You don't have to. You just need to learn like the moderation and also understand that you're in control. So I would love for you to share, like, what are some of those steps? Because it seems so simple, but then for the person that's in it, it's like, it's not simple at all. So I'd love to hear.
Oh my gosh. And I love that you brought that up because I tried quitting drinking or moderating my drinking literally dozens of times. And it was so much mental energy and so much work where I'd say, okay, I'm going to have 2 glasses of wine tonight. That's all I'm going to have. But then after the second glass, I'd be like, oh, I'll have a third or fourth. And it was just so much work. And I'd wake up and say, I'm not going to drink today. And then by 4 or 5 o'clock, here I was drinking again.
Yeah.
So the tools that we use are actually scientifically proven and evidence-based to really deal with alcohol use disorder at the root level, which is actually inside of the brain. And one of those is actually a medication therapy that you take it before drinking. And what it does is it basically gives your brain an off switch around alcohol. And so it does this by really blocking endorphin receptors in your brain. Because when we drink, we get this flood of endorphins and it feels so good, which is why alcohol can be so addictive and nearly anybody can get addicted to it, truly. And there's such a stigma around it in society, which is something that really frustrates me as well, because people are struggling and they're drinking too much, but then they want to label you an alcoholic. Like, that's the only option that I felt was out there for me. But so this medication, it's a benign, safe, non-addictive, inexpensive medication. And you take it an hour or 2 before drinking. And what it's doing is it's blocking the reward your brain gets from drinking. Now, a lot of people wonder, is it going to be fun? Am I going to still enjoy it? And you do still enjoy drinking. And in fact, I enjoy drinking more on this approach because, like I said, I felt empowered. I could go out with my girlfriends and know that I would have 2 and not have more. And I wouldn't be hungover the next day. And know that, my alcohol-free days would come more easily. And another really amazing thing about this approach is that it, over time, gradually eliminates the craving for alcohol. And so that is something that drives a lot of people to drink. Like they'll commit to not drink, but then their brain is just obsessing on that drink. And so we use the medication therapy combined in really like a whole person comprehensive program, because the medication is like the first step to really work on the neurological piece of over drinking. And then there's the habitual piece, the coping piece, the lifestyle piece. And that was something that was so humbling and surprising for me, honestly, is I got on this medication thinking, oh, this pill's going to be a magic pill for me. And then I realized, oh, my habit of drinking, like what else am I going to do in my evenings or when I'm coping or things like that. So our program really takes people through it in a holistic way so that we're, allowing them to, at the core, really change their relationship with alcohol and change their identity around alcohol. So they're no longer that mom who needs wine to cope every night kind of thing. So yeah, that's a little bit about what we do.
No, that's wonderful. And I love that you talked about the stigma, because that really is the perception from somebody looking from the outside in. It's like, you're drinking too much, you can't stop, you're an alcoholic. And obviously there's levels to it, and you can't just label somebody like that because you don't know, you're not in their shoes and you don't know the situation. So that, and the fact that you brought the identity, because then there's the flip side of that. Once you're in the process of creating more moderate habits, you're still in the process of changing. You're still in the process of transformation. So it has a lot to do with how you see yourself and how you feel and the things that can replace that. So it's not so simple, especially for those that say, just go, cold turkey and you can just quit. But there's a whole identity that was developed around that. And so the mindset piece and also having somebody to work with you on that is super helpful. It's interesting when I understood more about your business and what you were doing once you shared more in the group, I remembered I had a conversation not too long ago with somebody that also helps people moving away from alcohol and overcoming that. And one of the things that she said that really struck a chord with me, because we talk about alcohol, but it's very similar with, any other type of addiction, right? When you think sugar, when you think even being attracted to toxic relationships or TV, social media. Like some people are addicted to fitness and they just can't stop working out, and that's all that they do. Like it's just human behavior. But one of the things that she said that I was like, oh my gosh, this applies to business too, because my brain is always like, how does this apply to business? She was saying that you go through the process like through a year, and that person's established, they have several days that they've gone without alcohol. If they're going through a program where they're not drinking at all, which based on what you're telling me is not what you do, and you can tell me more about that. But then there's, what do you do now, right? Because just like what we were saying, the identity, this is the person I have known for years. And then now sort of like the honeymoon of recovery is over. What do I do now? And I so resonated with that in terms of like a business perspective as well. Because oftentimes we have that goal, right? I'm going to be 100 days sober or whatever it is, or I'm going to hit this income. And I've been experiencing this in my business. So many amazing things that I've been expecting for so many years have happened. And at times, instead of feeling super happy, I'm like, so what is next? Is this it? Was I supposed to feel extra happy? Like, yes. we have these expectations of fireworks. Like I always like to compare it with losing your virginity too, because movies create this idea that something extraordinary is going to happen, and it doesn't. And we tend to have these expectations about everything in life. So share your thoughts.
I'm just like nodding my head like crazy over here. Like you are so spot on all fronts. And I absolutely agree. And, you mentioned, there's the majority of the programs that are out there are like, hey, just quit drinking. And even the ones that say, hey, regain control over drinking, what they really want you to do is realize that you don't need alcohol and go sober. And as someone who tried probably every program that's out there, I mean, I'm sure there's more today, but I tried so many, and exactly what you described is you get super fired up. I'm going to be healthy and fit and quit drinking and commit to it. And sure, maybe you make it 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. But then that chatter in the mind starts talking to you again, the craving. Oh, I can just have one glass. I don't have a problem. Oh, I really don't like talking about FOMO. I don't want to like have to go to a wedding and not have champagne. Like I can handle it. And then we reintroduce alcohol again. And for a lot of us who experience that alcohol use disorder, it goes back to right where we were before we took the break. Again, because the root cause of it is inside of the brain. And that's what our program works to fix. It undoes that wiring, essentially, neurologically, that's been set in to drive this disordered drinking. And it really, when that's reset, somebody can get back to a place of balance and moderation with alcohol. And it's not white knuckled. You're not battling cravings. You're not counting alcohol-free days. You're really truly empowered and back in control. And, it's not an instant fix, but it's a permanent one is what happens, because it's like our brain gets restored to the state before we had alcohol use disorder. I have a lot of clients that say, I used to have control over drinking. Like, I don't know where it got out of hand. I used to have a couple glasses a night, and now I have a bottle or more. And so it gets people back to that place. And I will say that there's so much I could say, obviously, but when we go through periods of like abstinence and drinking again, there's something known as the alcohol deprivation effect that kicks in. And this has been scientifically researched and proven to be the case, where our brain is essentially dependent on alcohol. And when it becomes deprived of it, it kicks it into craving mode. It's kind of like, not a perfect example, but if you say, I'm not going to drink water, like logically, sure, we can say that, but we're so dependent on it that like the more we don't have water, the more we're going to think about water. And so the same thing happens when we try to quit drinking. And that's why I work so many clients, they've tried quitting like I did dozens of times over and over again. And they keep, failing, thinking it's their fault, but it's really because the treatment they're doing is not fixing the root cause in the brain. So that's what we do. We're not an abstinence-based program. We help people to drink less. Most of our clients have a goal to drink moderately. That was my goal. I got there, and I'm actually someone who quit drinking 3.5 years ago, just because I was drinking so infrequently that I just didn't really care about alcohol anymore. And I forgot to drink, to be honest. That's what happened. And I mentioned earlier, it's a medication people take, but you only take it before you drink. So it's not like something you're taking forever if you stop drinking. But I will say most people who I work with, their goal, and my goal too, it was like a moderate drinking. I think about 75% of people have that goal, and they achieve it. And they're able to have that ideal relationship with alcohol without fear of over drinking anymore. It's an incredible it's an incredible process. Obviously, I'm really passionate about it.
Yes, definitely. Well, and the best thing is that you've lived through it and you have the experience. It's not just something that you're pushing on somebody else. I love that you use the terminology alcohol use disorder. I don't think I've ever heard that because, like you said, it's such a stigma. People will just say you're an alcoholic. And that is such better wording, especially to be supportive to the people around you that you see having these behaviors and these patterns, and you can be more supportive on that sense. And the whole time when you were talking, I was thinking, again, like comparing it to other things in my life and even to business, because we have this tendency of wanting things and wanting them now, right? So I don't like this problem. I want it fixed by tomorrow. Yep. There hardly ever is a long-term solution if that is what you actually achieve. And it's this thinking of, I don't have enough time. I want to enjoy life. So this has to be gone today. It has to be gone today. It has to be gone right now. I don't know if I'm going to live another 10 years. So I need to make sure that all of this goes away. And we're just really not setting ourselves up for success. And just the other day, I made a post and lots of people resonated with it. And what if we stop thinking about life as a sprint or a marathon or even a race? What if it's none of that? And it's just us living day by day, which so many coaches and gurus talk about being present. There must be something to it, right? Some truth to it is really taking it one day at a time. And boy, does that apply when we're talking about addiction. Like that's such a vivid example to say, this is really how it works. And it's reworking and changing that identity. It's not going to be overnight, because even if you have that quick fix, the identity is still there. Yep. So you're going to go back into it. So
yep. It took us time to learn it, and it's going to take time to unlearn it, but with consistent effort, like with anything, it's amazing what can happen in 6 months to a year for people, like total life transformation. And that there's such a ripple effect, because when you drink heavily, there's a ripple effect, of course, negatively. You're hungover, you're not working out, you're not as clear, you're short with your kids. And then the reverse is true. When you cut back on alcohol, it's like, holy cow, you're a whole new person. And it's just, I see people in the course of a year, they're like, lost 30 pounds, got a new career, got a new relationship. It's just amazing, the transformation that can happen.
That's incredible.
Well, it takes a year,
Right. So we were talking about, take it day by day, but of course it's nice to have a ballpark just to have us, create some sort of expectations. So I was going to ask you, how long until you start seeing some transformation, and how long are people expected to be taking this medication right before they drink?
Yeah. So people, honestly, it varies person to person, but a lot of people within the first month, they'll see some pretty significant changes. Like we typically see about a 30 to 50% reduction in drinking within the first month. But what happens, it can go up and down from there. Because as we talked about, there's the habit piece, there's a coping piece. So they may be doing great. And then all of a sudden work is super stressful and they're relying on their wine habit every night again. And their brain may not want to drink because the medication is working in the background, but the habit can play out. Kind of like how we can keep eating beyond our feeling of being full. The same thing happens there. So, but it's really encouraging because even though it's a long-term protocol, like we tell most people to give it a year just to have a realistic expectation, most people are seeing progress each week or each day or each month the whole time. And yes, there's going to be ups and downs, but you truly start to change as you relate to alcohol. You see yourself, like I said, go out for 2 drinks and not have more, and have 3 or 4 alcohol-free days, whereas before even 1 was difficult. And so these little changes happen progressively over the course of, a year. Some people it takes less and some people it takes more, but that's like a good time frame to really, change again at the core your relationship with alcohol. And then if someone does continue to drink, it is advised that they continue to take that medication before they drink, like if they continue to. And I know when I first heard that, I was like, I'm going to take a medication for the rest of my life because I'm so like anti-pharmaceutical, to be honest. But this one thing was like, it was like my protection, like my life vest, so to speak. And so what happens for people is as they start to realize the benefits of the medication, that it really is like their protection, it gives them that off switch, that it becomes a non-issue. Like it just becomes a part of their drinking ritual. Like, oh, I'm going to happy hour, I better take my pill beforehand. So yeah.
Okay. And so what is the first step for somebody that's, listening to you and being like, maybe this is something I should explore or I can recommend to somebody else? How do they go about it in reaching out to you, having like an initial call? How does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website has a lot of great resources and just information about how all of this works. So it's thrivealcoholrecovery.com. On there, we have our contact information so they can call us or text us or email us as well. I'm always available to chat. And so that would be a good place to start. We have a lot of content online too. I've been documenting my experience, sharing other success stories on our YouTube channel and,
Nice.
different social media, but you can access all of that from thrivealcoholrecovery.com.
Amazing. And I'll be sure to put the links in the show notes as well so people can connect with you. All right. Well, before we wrap up, are you ready for my rapid fire questions?
I guess so. Yes. I was telling you, I was like nervous about this, but here we go.
I know. She said, I was listening to other episodes and I know that they're coming and I don't know what to expect, but that's the fun of it because it's spontaneous. All right. So let's get ready. So the first one is notice yourself.
Heart beating fast.
Mm-hmm. I love it. That's the first. Next one is listen to yourself.
Stomach is turning.
You can hear it. That's great.
I haven't had breakfast yet.
Forgive yourself.
Oh, relaxation into warmth.
Mm-hmm. Empower yourself.
Take control over your life.
Yes. And last but not least, transform yourself.
Day by day.
Mm-hmm. Yes. One day at a time, right? That's all we have.
I survived.
Oh, you did. That was easy, right? Didn't even hurt too much. Katie, this is so good. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. Let us know, how can we find you? Where should we go?
Yeah, definitely. So go to thrivealcoholrecovery.com. That's our main website. And then on our social media, we're called Thrive Community because that's what our platform is called, where we serve people through this approach. So if you go to our website, we're linked. Everything is linked from there. And you can find us there.
Okay, sounds great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Like I had mentioned before, for everyone that was listening, what were your biggest takeaways? Please make sure and share it with us on social media. Reach out to me and Katie. All the links are in the show notes. And if you're able to take a screenshot and also tag us, share with us what was most impactful, and also recommend the episode for friends, right? There was so many valuable nuggets here that could be useful, whether it is for you listening or for somebody that you know. So make sure and share so more people can be aware of this amazing topic that we covered today. Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you, Marta.
You know, one of my goals with this podcast is to bring variety, is to cover, different types of topics and to bring awareness and ultimately to empower you. And like Katie said it beautifully, the work that she's doing is empowering women. So I highly encourage you to go connect with her, and don't forget to join my Facebook group. Go ahead and take my personality quiz, share your results with us, and let's build a community of empowering and supportive women. Until next time, bye.